Hey, this is author A.L.McCarroll, and I'm coming at you from my desk in my room. And today I have a special little guest sitting in my lap. I have my kitty cat Vader. He's a big old fluffy black cat. He's a masculine kitty, but he's just the love. He is so very loving. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear him purring in the background or if he'll meow or anything, but he's just the biggest sweetheart ever. All right, so the previous chapter, before I start telling you a little bit about the previous chapter, anyone that is starting right now, you might want to go to my channel, go back to the first episode, and start this thing at the beginning because we're getting closer and closer to the end here. Yeah, I've got 18 chapters, and we're on chapter 15 today. All right, so in the previous chapter, chapter 14, we uh, we have Guinevere finishing up her gun, getting prepared to go to Planet Prime to find the bunker with the Avenger's eye painted on it. And when they go to Planet Prime and they're going down the elevator, they see the multicolored altered woman with the pink and blue skin, and she's got the modification on her fingertip to be able to, make a little bit of fire so she could light cigarettes. She's gonna be in book two. She's a really cool character, and her name is Trixie. But they don't know that yet, so just for y'all to know. And they get to the bunker with the eye. It's really freaky for them, especially Guinevere, because she's having to see Avenger's eye all over again. They get into this bunker and they start trying to open up the second door in there. It's kind of like a wheel that was painted with red paint, and big, thick, metal, heavy door. And let's see, Laureate tries, then he gets Brett to try to pull this wheel or push this wheel or whatever they can do to it, and then they get the big old strong dude Ryle up there. He breaks the wheel off, and that's where we end up. So yeah. Who knows how they're gonna fix that, but y'all are gonna find out soon enough. And before we get started, a little bit of an update on how things have been going. Today I had really bad sinus pressure for like the whole day. It was miserable, just sinus pressure pain, and it didn't get better until like 7. So I'm surprised I was able to record this intro tonight, but I needed to get it done because this episode's gonna drop tomorrow. Another weird thing that happened, I was watching 48 Hours on YouTube because I like murder mystery stuff and sometimes like cold cases and different things like that. I like a good like murder story. They're not good though, they're bad. Terrible. And so I was watching that on YouTube. I kept getting these commercials that were convincing commercials about a new stimulus check. And before I get further into it, it is not real. There is not another stimulus check. But they had taken video from Joe Rogan and they used AI to replicate his voice, and they flipped through this video with him and different other things just to kind of not have to show his lips moving all the time. And they talked about a whole new stimulus check, and part of me was like, wow, that sounds interesting. And they're just like, click on this link. And then the other part of me that's a skeptic was like, never click on links, don't trust anything on the internet. And I searched it in Google. I searched stimulus check YouTube commercial, and I found a Reddit thread where other people were complaining that they kept getting these commercials. And I got probably about 5 different versions of the same type of commercial saying there's different types of stimulus checks through one episode of this on YouTube. And it's wild that AI has come so far that they can effectively make it so that you can't trust photos, videos, or even audio. And I've been doing these audios on YouTube, and now everybody in the whole world can have my voice and have me say whatever, I guess. So I'm a little too far into this to be able to take that back. So, yeah. And Well, that's about it for right now. So, with that, let's get this thing started. Chapter 15. The room was quiet for just a moment, the calm before the storm. "Now what are we going to do?" Daisy blurted out the words with an air of complete frustration. "Maybe we could get some tools and cut it open," Robertson suggested, looking the door over as she tucked a lock of her wavy brown hair behind her ear. "We don't have time for that," Fletcher barked out at Robertson. "We'd have to leave and come all the way back." "I don't see you coming up with anything better," Maxim retorted. Robertson shot an angry look at Fletcher, obviously frustrated to have her idea shot down. The room filled with angry buzz of voices. They bounced around, hurting Guinevere's head. Use the gun, she thought to herself. Yeah, it could cut through the metal. Why'd she not thought of it earlier? "Everyone quiet down." The people in the room became silent, directing their attention towards Guinevere. "I can use this gun to cut the door open from the hinges. I'll just have to take it slow. And I need you, Blust, and you, Ryle, to ensure the door doesn't fall down on me after I finish the cuts." "Sure thing, ma'am," Blust replied, and Ryle nodded sternly. She reached the door and lightly tapped the trigger, sending bursts of concentrated bright light from the barrel. As the beam traveled downward, she could see it was working on eating away at the metal. The two men flanked her on both sides, holding their hands on the door just in case. When she finished, they pushed the door and sent it crashing into the next room. The artificial lighting in this room was brighter, and the foul smell had become more powerful. Guinevere walked into the room, letting her gun take the lead. It was a small cafeteria with 6 metal bench seat tables. The other half of the room was a casual lounge with tables, chairs, and couches. The skeletal remains of bunker community occupants were seated on the cafeteria benches and lounge chairs, each skeleton wearing the clothes they had died in. They were in a deep state of decay than the corpses she had seen in the underground church. The sight gave her an automatic sense of relief. Avenger would not be able to do much with just bones. He must not have been preserving the bodies like he had preserved Robert Higgins and the corpses in the Church of the Shard. The group filled the room and began to look around. The tables had plates of rotten food sitting in front of the long-dead occupants. That must be one of the things creating the foul smell. Ack! Ack! She turned to see Laureate holding what looked like a powdered pastry up to his mouth. He quickly spat out as much as he could, a look of irritation on his dark, deep-set features. "Why the hell did you do that, Captain?" Ralph laughed as he spoke. Laureate wiped his tongue against his sleeve. "I'm not sure. It looked good. Tasted like shit. Really bitter." Laureate set the half-eaten pastry back onto the plate he had taken it from. "Hey, Gwen!" Daisy directed her attention to the hall that led further into the bunker. She went over to her friend. "What is it?" Daisy pointed to an open door. Inside were the remains of 2 people who appeared to have been in a fight. One bony set of arms locked around the neck of the other. The one being strangled had been able to open the door before falling down partway into the hall. They had both died in this pose, even though the one on top obviously had the upper hand. The room had a bunk bed and various books and trinkets on shelves. She noticed a simple wooden dresser with one drawer pulled out lying sideways, its contents spilling into the floor. Guinevere had the group search each of the living quarters. There were 15 rooms on either side of the hall. Most of the doors had been locked. The few they could open held scenes like this one. Daisy had shown her. People had turned on each other, and there were obvious signs of paranoia-induced deaths. The following set of doors, past the living quarters, were men's and women's bathrooms on either side of the hall, the men's on the left and the women's on the right. Laureate scratched at his neck in thought before delegating Ryle and Brett to check the side marked women's. The rest went with him to check the side marked men's. Daisy and Guinevere stayed outside in the hall while the two rooms were being searched. If anything was found or anything happened, they would be able to keep in contact via GCOM. Guinevere thought she could hear a low hissing sound coming from the side marked men's in the quiet hall. She looked from the doorway to Daisy to see if she had heard the same sounds. Daisy gave her a silent look that mirrored her curiosity. "Laureate, can you hear me?" Guinevere was trying to contact him over her comm. "Loud and clear, Miss Matthews. What do you need?" She looked over at Daisy and then back to her wrist before replying. "I'm hearing a noise coming from in there. Has your group come across anything that sounds like hissing?" Before Laureate could reply, Guinevere heard a loud scream from the woman's side. "Brett!" Daisy yelled out, then ran into the women's bathroom before Guinevere had a chance to stop her. At that moment, Guinevere realized she was alone. She jumped as she heard Laureate's voice over her comm. He sounded frustrated. "Miss Matthews, the sound you heard is the shower. It's pretty damn loud. Some of them have been on the whole time, with people still in them. Well, bones of people." Guinevere looked further down the hall as she listened to him. She wondered who had screamed from the woman's side as Laureate spoke over the shower's background hiss. "I guess they have a damn good recycling system since the water's still clear." As he spoke, she noticed the door in the back of the hall. It had a placard that read, "Commander's Quarters." That would be where they needed to go to find the crystal. "Okay, Laureate, sorry to disturb your search." Guinevere's thoughts of everything happening around her had been brushed aside as she continued observing the commander's door. She felt her neck prickle. Her observation was interrupted by a voice over her comm. "Miss Matthews, everything's okay." The voice was Brett's. "The scream was just Ryle. He got spooked by a body hidden in a locker." She looked down at her wrist, momentarily breaking the spell of the door down the hall. She attempted to focus her attention on Brett's voice. "The room's bigger than you'd think. They have toilets and a shower area, and, well, you know, lockers." Guinevere heard the smile in his words. "Daisy ran in after you. Is she okay?" Her mind had just caught back up to what was going on. "Yeah, Gwen, I'm here. I'm sorry I ran off." Daisy's voice rang out from the speaker on her wrist in the quiet hall. "Will you be okay in there, or do you need me to come back?" Guinevere thought about it before responding. She really wanted Daisy to come back. She was nervous about being alone. "But you have your gun. As long as you have that gun, you will be fine." She took a deep breath, feeling more confident, as she replied over her comm, "I'll be fine. Keep up the search and let me know if you find anything interesting." Once Guinevere was alone again, she found herself taking a few steps down the hall till she reached the commander's door. It was a large code-locked door similar to the front door. When Robert mentioned a key for the door, she hadn't pictured the key to be a key code. It didn't matter, though. She had her gun, which could cut through the metal. Guinevere looked from the door down to the gun, debating going on without the group. It would take her a little while to get into the door, she thought to herself. You could get started while you are waiting. She began to cut into the hinges, watching the heavy door since she didn't have Brett or Ryle to hold this one up. Halfway through cutting the 3 large hinges, heavy breathing came from her comm. "Guinevere," a woman's voice whispered. It was Robertson, the woman from earlier, who had the idea of cutting open the door. "Laureate, he's acting strange. He attacked the others in the—" She heard the sound of a gunshot. The woman on her comm gasped. "What was that?" Brett's voice rang out over her comm, loud in the quiet hall. "Miss Matthews, this is Maxim. Laureate is down. He started acting strange." Maxim's voice was shaking. He attacked Robertson and Fletcher. He would have killed me." Maxim's voice cracked. I'm sorry." Guinevere stopped what she was doing. Her complete shock had momentarily broken her obsession with getting into the door. "Miss Matthews?" She took a deep breath, then replied to Maxim, "I'll be sending Brett your way. Thank you for protecting the others." Once Brett and Daisy's group made it back into the main hall, Guinevere explained to Brett what might have happened. He looked like he was going to be sick at the news. She didn't want to believe that Laureate might actually be dead. As Brett left to check on things, her mind oddly shifted back to what she could find in the commander's room. Brett had left behind Daisy and Ryle, who would assist her by holding the door. Once the other group returned, they would help them in the commander's room. She finished cutting through the last hinge, and Ryle let the door fall into his arms, lowering it to the ground. She had instructed him to do it this way in case the falling door could damage something inside the room. She led the way into the room, sweeping her gun around where she looked. The room began with a small office, a heavy metal L-shaped desk taking up a large portion of the middle of the room. Along the wall were a few metal bookshelves filled with paper books, a rare sight in this day and age. She was sure they would be a fascinating find for any historian. Behind the desk, along the wall, were two doors, one marked with a bathroom, and the other unmarked. Guinevere walked past the desk and opened the door to the bathroom, revealing a modest space with a small shower tub combo, toilet, and sink. Guinevere closed the door and looked back at Daisy and Ryle. Just a plain bathroom. Ryle nodded at her words. Daisy looked at the other door and spoke. "Should we wait for the others?" Guinevere thought about it. Why would you need to wait? She had the weapon. She knew she could end this. "No, let's finish things. I have my gun." Ryle smiled at her words and pointed to his chest with his thumb. "Yeah, and you two ladies have me." Daisy looked at Ryle and let out a quick amused exhalation before saying, "Okay, let's go then." Guinevere pushed open the door to the room. In a small bedroom, sitting on top of the bed, was the partially decomposed body of the commander. He wore a fancy uniform, the dark brown color matching the leather of his wilted skin. He sat on the bed, leaning back against the headboard, and on his chest was a black box, his bony fingers cupped over the curved lid. "That's it," Guinevere spoke aloud. "Wasn't it supposed to be under the bed?" Daisy added. If Guinevere wanted the box, she would have to take it from the body. She was thinking over her next move when Ryle suddenly walked up to the body, grabbed the box from the corpse's grip, and turned around with a sly smile. "Is this what you ladies were looking for?" His smile faltered and his face filled with pain as he bit his lip, grunting loudly, and he fell to his knees. The body behind him raked the pointy tips of its finger bones down the back of Ryle's arm. They had sunk deep into his skin. Its hand, still held up into the air, had fresh blood running down its decayed wrist. Ryle scuttled towards them. His eyes were wide in horror. Daisy grabbed the box from him and helped him up from the floor. Guinevere kept her eyes on the corpse, waiting for its next move, the gun ready. Its mouth opened. The jaw made a sickening pop as the dead man worked it from side to side, loosening the stiffness. "Guinevere Matthews, I have been waiting for you." She felt surprisingly powerful at the moment, and she responded to him with the confidence of that feeling. "I hope I didn't keep you waiting too long, Avenger." The corpse laughed a dry, croaking laugh. "I have an infinite amount of time, Guinevere Matthews. What feels long to you is a mere drop in my immortality." She thought about shooting the body with a gun, but if Avenger wasn't fully formed, would it actually work to kill him? Guinevere needed to know more about him. She wondered if she could glean some useful information if she questioned him. So you're Avenger, right? The body nodded its head, which popped as it moved up and down. I am Avenger. The dead man smiled as she continued. You're an alien. We humans have never been in contact with aliens before. Why can't we work together instead of you attacking us? The face of the dead commander grimaced in a move that looked like a smirk. Alien? That is a new one. I have gone by many names. God, Satan, a dream come true, a nightmare to behold, but I do so prefer the name Avenger. It is the most fitting name in your language for my intentions. I really enjoy your kind. You are always so sneaky, and each one of you feels as though you are smart enough to outwit me. Well, my dear, that is where you are wrong. Screams came from behind them out in the hallway, followed by gunfire. Guinevere fired the gun at the body, which turned to dust on impact of the beam. When she stopped her fire, she saw black ooze moving into the air vent. Guinevere turned to Daisy and Ryle. Ryle had 3 long, raking claw lines down the back of his arm. Blood dripped down into the palm of his hand. It hung to his side loosely. Daisy was yelling into her G-com. Brett! Brett! What's going on? Guinevere put her hand on her friend's shoulder. Daisy, let him concentrate. Guinevere pleaded with her friend. Daisy looked at her, blue eyes filled with shock and horror. She exploded into a rush of panicked words. Everything you told us was true, Guinevere. I told you that I believed you, but I lied. I'm so sorry. You're my best friend, Gwen. I thought you were mistaken or just off a little. I didn't think you were telling the truth about Avenger. Daisy began to cry in her panic. I don't want Brett to die. I don't want to die. Dr. Ray! Ryle broke his silence. They could hear the pain in his voice. Brett's a tough son of a bitch. It's gonna take a lot to break that man. Hell, I'm stronger than him, but he could kick my ass from here and back. So have some faith in your man and your friend. Ryle turned to look her way. Miss Matthews, you need to get out there and use that gun on that monster. I'll protect Dr. Ray.
Hey, this is A.L.McCarroll. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Remember to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, also turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter. Don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms for updates. You can find the links in the description box. Thank you again for watching. Stay tuned and take care.